to apply some acceleration logic. So the player starts on a low speed until it reaches the maximum speed. Alright? So right now our speed is 5.5 f. We're going to change that to maximum speed. Okay, so we defined the maximum speed as 5.5 f. And we're going to define here a private float speed equals to 0f. So this is the beginning speed. We're also going to set a public float acceleration, and let's define this as 1f. Okay, so it's going to increase 1 a second. Okay, so we're going to save this, and now we're going to work on this. So in the update method, when we make the player move forward, before we do this, we need to work on the speed. So we're going to type speed plus equals, and then we're going to use the acceleration. So plus equals acceleration multiplied by time.delta time, so it scales accordingly. Okay, let me even move this here. Okay, however, if we leave it this way, the speed could become a very high value. Okay, there's no limit for the speed where the player is moving. So we also can type here if speed is greater than maximum speed, and then between curly braces we say that speed equals to maximum speed. We are assigning this value, we're writing this value in speed, so we force it to be at this maximum value. Let's save this. We go to Unity, we wait for this compilation to complete, and after it is done, we're going to hit the play button to test this out. There we go. You press play, and our player starts slowly and slowly gets speed. Okay, and you can even see that the bobbing effect in the camera works just fine. Okay, it starts moving, and then the game is on. Okay, now what we want to do is to check if we collide with this obstacle, and if we did, we're going to decrease the speed of the player. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to the obstacle here, and we're going to simplify how this works. Okay, you saw before that we were able to collide with these bars of the obstacle, but we want to make this game simple. We want to make this as arcade-like as possible. So I want you to select all the game objects inside the obstacle that make this shape here, and we're going to remove the box collider component from here. We do this because we want to add another box collider. So we go to the obstacle game object, we click on add component, we search for box collider, and we add it here. Okay, so let's change its height accordingly. So center on Y is going to be 0.5 should be fine. Its width is going to be 3. Okay, and its depth is going to be 0.2. Okay, so we added a box collider here. Okay, this is what's going to be used for checking if you collide with an obstacle. And also we're going to mark this is trigger checkbox here, because this is going to enable us to make a simple obstacle, a simple overlap check, a simple overlap verification. Okay, so now that we do this, we want to let the player know if they collided with this obstacle. So one way to do this is to simply create a tag for it. We can go to edit, select project settings, tags and layers, open this tag menu and click on this plus icon. And now we're going to set this as obstacle. Okay. After we do this, we select our obstacle and apply the tag we just created. So it's going to look like this. Okay. And now we're going to our player script and we're going to add another method here. We're going to add void on trigger enter, and between parentheses we're going to add collider. So this method that we added needs to be exactly this name. This is used internally in Unity, and it requires exactly one parameter of the type collider. And what we want to check is what we are colliding with. So let's see if the overlapping logic is working. We're going to type debug.log, and between parentheses we're going to add collider.tag. Okay, so this is going to print to the console if we hit a trigger collider. So let's wait for the compilation to complete. And after this is finished, we're going to hit the play button. And once we do, we're going to pay attention to the console or look down here. And when it collides with the obstacle, we see the message obstacle. So we can properly now check that we collided with that. So we're going to the on trigger enter, and let's remove this line. And we're going to type if collider.tag equals, so we use two equal signs because we're making a comparison to the string obstacle. We're going to decrease the speed of the player. So we can simply type speed multiple equal 0.5f. This is going to get whatever value is saved in the speed and cut it in half. Okay, if you want to have a tenth of what you have, you use 0.1, okay, or 0.2. You can define the punishment that you want to give the player. So let's use this. Whenever we hit an obstacle, we're going to 30% of our previous speed. Okay, so let's save this. We go to Unity. Let's wait for this compilation to be complete. And now we're going to hit the play button. Okay, so there we go. We hit the play button. Now we're working on a certain speed. Pay attention to the player head movement. And once we hit the obstacle, we are much slower because it's kind of we fell in this obstacle. And then we keep moving and try to get the best we can. Okay, and now that we have this, we can make a very simple track in here. Okay, so we can keep moving forward. So in the project window, what we want to do is to transform in this obstacle into a prefab so it can be easily reused. So to make this into a prefab, we just drag it to the assets panel here in the project window. And our obstacle is now a prefab. Okay, you can even see that it is blue, okay, because this is a prefab instance. And to make the track, you can simply duplicate this obstacle and keep laying it in the level. So let's create an empty object that is going to store the level. So we rename it to level, set its position to be 0, 0, 0, so it's in the center of the world. We move this obstacle inside the level. This is just to keep things organized. And now we're going to keep duplicating them and adding to the track. So I'm going to duplicate this one by hitting Ctrl D or Command D and changing its Z to 20, for example. Or that might be too close, so 25. I duplicate it again and set it to 40. And then again, and I keep adding in multiples of 15. Okay, so they're all going to be like this. And in the end, you can try to make things a bit difficult, so you put them closer to each other. Okay, so 75, and then 85, and finally 95, which should be the last one. Okay, and the good thing about us writing the scripts and making all these tags is because now making levels are pretty trivial. Okay, you just duplicate things and they're all going to be here, and you can, well, easily test it out. Okay, just jump over the hurdles and avoid losing some speed. Okay, so we're moving at maximum speed here. Okay, so we keep jumping, and let's see if we don't trip on any of them. That should give us an achievement. Okay, and when we do this, we should finish the game. Okay, we got through all the hurdles and the finish line should be here. So in the next video, we're going to work on making a finish line and also an interface to display the time of the player. See you in the next video. Let's start by making an interface so we can display information. We're going to the player and we're going to right click on it and select UI, and then actually 3D object and then 3D text. Okay, let's move this text to the player camera, by the way. In the inspector, we're going to change this to info text, and we're going to set some values in here so the text is in a place that we can easily read. So we're going to change here. Okay, we're going to change the anchor to be middle center, the alignment to be center, the font size to be 100, and the color to be red. Okay, like this, so it can be easily read. So no pun intended. So in the info text here, we're going to set Y to be 50 and Z to be 100, and you can see that the text is up there. Now, if you hit the play button, you're going to be moving around, and there's the information text is here at the top. Okay, so you can easily read it while jumping over. Okay, you can see the instructions, so avoid hitting the obstacles, or you can see your time is 3 seconds right now. Okay, you can see any several different information by using this text. Okay, so now we need something that is going to control whatever is being displayed in this text. So we're going to make a game controller. Let's go to our hierarchy window. We're going to right click, we're going to select create empty. We're going to rename this to game controller and set its position to be 0, 0, 0. And now let's make a script to it and attach to it. So right click, create C# script. This is going to be game controller. And we wait for the compilation to complete so we can attach this script component to our game controller game object. Okay, so once it is finished, we drag it here. And now let's reference this text. We double click on the game controller and we're going to add here public text mesh info text. Once this is done, we can save the script and go to Unity so we can see its viewed here, and then drag the info text that we added in the player camera to this component. So there we go, we have info text. Now we drag this in here. Okay, there we go. Now we want to keep track of how long the player is in the game, so we can type here private float game timer equals to 0f, so it starts on 0, of course. And also let's keep a reference to our player. So public player, because the player is going to store if it crossed the finish line. Okay. In the update method, we're going to do something. So before that, we're going to the player, and we're going to add here a public bool reached finish line, and we set that as false. Okay. We just add this. And now in the game controller, we're going to do if player.reached finish line equals to false. That means that the game is running. So we're going to type game timer plus equals time.delta time. So it works as a clock counting up. Okay, it's going to count 1 second, 2 seconds, and so on. And now we're going to type here info text.text equals to. Let's make a string by opening with a double quote. We're going to add here avoid the obstacles, and then we're going to \n, and we're going to add press the button to jump, then a \n, and notice that this \n is considered one character. It's very common in programming, and this is basically a line break. And finally, we're going to add here a time in a column, and then a double quote, and we're going to append whatever is written in game timer. Okay, so it's going to be added here. However, game timer is a floating point number, so we might have too many digits in here. So to make this better, we can just type here mathf.floor and pass game timer as a parameter. Okay, so it's going to be just one number. Okay, no decimal part in here. So we can save this. We go to Unity. Now we wait for the compilation to complete. After it finishes, we should put the player here in the game controller. So we drag it and drop it here. So it's saved. And now we hit the play button. And there we go. We have avoid the obstacles, press the button to jump, and the time is counting up. Okay. I don't know about you, but I think the red didn't go well. So let's just use the black color. Okay. So let me change that back to black. I think it's much better to read. And now let's make a very simple finish line. So we are going to our level game object. We're going to add another 3D object here. Let's add a cube. Okay, we're moving its Z position to 110, so it's going to be here. The scale on X could be something like 30. Okay, like this. Maybe it's okay. That may be too much. Okay, so let's use 10. Let's move it a bit to the top. And well, it's up to you to decide how this should look like for now. So let's change the scale on Z to be 0.1, so it's thin, and on Y to be 0.4, so it looks like this. And let's change that color to something else. In the project window, I'm going to create a new material. This is going to be finish line material. We're going to change its color to yellow, pending to green, going to green, so it looks like this. Okay, a very simple finish line, and we're going to make a tag for it. So edit, project settings, tags and layers. We open the tags here and add a finish line tag. And this cube that we added here, let's rename it to finish line and apply the finish line tag. Okay, if you want to make multiple finish lines or multiple objects, it's pretty much the reason we use tags. Okay, because you can't rely on names very much. Right? Now we go back to our script. And in the player, where we check if we collide with an obstacle, we want to check if we collide with a finish line. So we can add here if collider.tag equals to the string finish line. Then we're going to add here player. Actually, no need to add player because we are already in the player. So we just type reached finish line equals to true. Reached finish line equals to true. And in the game controller, we only check if the player didn't reach the finish line. However, if it did, so we type an else here, and open and close curly braces, we're going to type info text.text equals to you win, \n, your time, colon, and then we append mathf.floor game timer. So it's a simple game over timer here, a simple you win message. So we can go back to Unity, we wait for this compilation to complete, and once it is, we can test this out. Okay, and after we're done with this, we're going to make a simple restarting logic so the player is able to try again in case they tripped in one of these obstacles. Okay, so let's try our best here. Time is moving up. I think we can do in less than 20 seconds, maybe, and maybe not. So let's keep trying here. And right now it's pretty easy because the speed is a bit slow, but you can tune that to make it way harder than this. So we cross the finish line, and apparently, yes, there is one issue here. We need to transform the box collider of the finish line into a is trigger. Once we do, we receive the you win message. Okay. Remember, when you stop the scene, you have to do what you just did. So we select the finish line and mark is trigger. Okay, let's also make this a bit taller. Alright, now that we did this, and notice that you can jump over the finish line, so we can change the size of this box collider to something like 10, okay, so you can't avoid the finish line, okay, that's interesting. Okay, so now that we have this, let's work on the game over logic. We go to the game controller, and we have a game timer, but we can also make a private float reset or restart timer equals to 3f, because we're going to wait for 3 seconds. So in the update method, when we know that the player reached the finish line, we're going to type restart timer minus equals time.delta time, and then if restart timer is less or equal than 0f, it means it's time to restart. And how do you reload the game? How do we reload the scene? We need to include a namespace, so using Unity Engine.scene management, because we want to reload the scene we're currently at, and here we're going to type scene manager dot load scene, in between parentheses scene manager dot get active scene dot name. So we get the name of the scene, which is game, and then reload it. Now we save this. We'll wait for this compilation to complete, and also to avoid that we have any lighting issues in here, because that happens with some Unity versions, we're going to window lighting. We disable this auto checkbox and hit build, so the lighting information of the scene is going to be saved. And now we hit the save button. We're going to press play, and we're going to run here. Okay, so let's avoid the obstacles and press the button to jump. So after we finish, the game should take 3 seconds and then restart. Okay, and the thing that you can make to make this harder is to increase the gravity of the game, increase the speed and the jumping force. Okay, so you have to be much more precise than what I'm doing right now. Okay, so we reach the finish line. We have the you win message, your time 24, and after a few seconds the game restarts and the player starts running again. Okay, so it's a pretty simple game, but it's very fun. Okay, once you find some very good values in here, it's going to be fun to play with your friends. Okay, now that we have this, we need to work on the art. So we're going to integrate the art and make this game beautiful. We're going to do this in the next video.